Hi guys and girls, it's time to take the budget and turn it into something that actually changes reality, rather than just an Excel spreadsheet saved on your computer. Welcome to Module 4, Get the Right Structure. One of the biggest problems I see with people's plan to save money is that they have a structure designed to allow for spending only limited by their salary or their credit limit. This is the structure that banks love, and I see a lot of people advocating for this on TV. You get an offset account. You put all your money into the offset account. You get a credit card with a big credit limit and spend everything on the card. You only pay for purchases after 30 days interest free. It's like having money for nothing, saving interest every month. Let's break this down. Firstly, what are the benefits of this structure? If you constantly run a debt of about $3,000 on the credit card, then you might save about $150 a year in interest. Also, some of these credit cards have point systems, and you might be able to get small household appliances or a domestic airfare by the end of the year. But do you honestly think the banks are mugs? Do you think they are offering these vacuum cleaners out of the kindness of their hearts? Or do you think they know something that you don't? I think it's the latter. I think that they know that this structure has some serious problems. You get in the habit of being able to swipe a bit of plastic and you can afford anything. The link between the money you have and what you are spending is very far removed. I believe psychologically it is much more painful to hand over cold hard cash that you know relates to hours of work than it is just to swipe a piece of plastic in the same way for a $10 purchase or a $1,000 purchase. Another issue is that you can't run out of money until it comes time to pay for your credit card and you don't have enough. This is when the banks get paid and you start racking up interest. And even if you don't run out of money, even if you have a strong surplus, it's very easy to spend the money that you wanted to save for your goals on small incidental purchases along the way. Also, the banks know life sometimes gets busy, and sometimes you might be a day late on the credit card payment, at which stage you lose your eligibility for the 30-day interest-free period, and you start racking up a fairly large interest bill. Lastly, with this system, when do you know when you've overspent? It's certainly not at the time of spending. Maybe it's at the end of the month when you fill in a spreadsheet. Maybe it's never. To me, for most people, these problems far outweigh the $150 interest savings and free vacuum cleaner that you might get. You're being sold a car without brakes and airbags. Sure, it goes faster because it's lighter, and you save money because it has less parts, but unfortunately too many things can go horribly wrong. And I think the proof's in the pudding. With all the offset accounts and the banked products supposedly making it easier for us to save, what's happened? Australian households have completely lost the ability to save money. We're saving less than we ever have before. So what do I advocate? I advocate something that's worked for a very long time. Find someone on the age pension and ask them how they manage their cash flow. And there's a fair chance they will use something like the envelope system. This is the envelope system as used by my mother-in-law since well before we met. At the start of the year, she estimates her bills and expenses, and she needs to put her money aside for things like home repairs, trips to Sydney to see the grandkids, and other goals. For each expense and goal, she gets an envelope, an actual envelope, and writes the fortnightly amount that needs to go into that envelope to make sure that there's enough money for that expense or goal. Every fortnight she goes to the bank and draws out their pension in very small denominations. She then adds the fortnightly amounts into each of the envelopes. What is left is what she can spend on groceries and entertainment. When the rates bill comes, she goes to the rates envelope, takes out the money, goes down to the Australian Post Office and pays the rates bills. Do you see what's happened here? The goals and fixed expenses come out and what is left is used for lifestyle. Rather than what happens if you use a credit card, where lifestyle comes out and the insufficient amount left is used for goals and fixed expenses, or at least is used for some of the goals and fixed expenses because there's generally not enough. However, let's be realistic here. You probably don't have the time to go to the bank every fortnight and go to the post office to pay every bill. So what I often find works well is taking the concept of the envelope system and to move it into something a little less manual. Here's the structure that most of my clients use to save money. There's a main account. This holds your long-term savings. If you have a mortgage debt, then this may be an offset account, or even the mortgage itself, if you have an appropriate redraw. If not, it may just be a high-interest, no-fee cash account. All your salaries, current savings, and any other income goes into this account. You then have 3 other envelope accounts. One to deal with fixed bills and expenses, one to deal with your living expenses, and the other one to deal with your goals and irregular expenses. Based on the budget that you've created, you then transfer set amounts into each of these envelopes every week. Then all you need to do is make sure you only spend what's in these accounts. If you do that, you've just turned a theoretical savings plan into something real. So what are the benefits of this? You know before you spend money if you've actually got money to spend. You're only spending money you have. So you improve your discipline. You can also be confident you're on track with your budget without consulting a spreadsheet or an app, because if there's money in the account, then you haven't overspent. You can make better decisions. For example, I get my drop-down living on a Friday. If I have a big weekend, rather than blowing the budget, I just have toasted sandwiches for lunch for the rest of the week. I'd prefer to do that and go to Madagascar in a few years' time than have takeaway chicken laksa from the local Vietnamese place. Also, when Shannon and I want to go out for dinner, we can have a look at how much is in the living account. If there's heaps, then we can go to a steakhouse. If there's not, then it's BYO local Thai. Do I think it's worth paying a little bit more interest because you have money in envelopes rather than an offset? Absolutely. So if you want to try and get this system going, then open up your budget that we've been working on and I'll show you how to set it up. Okay, so open up the expense tab of your budget and you should be looking at something like this. So the first thing you want to do is on your account list on the left, let's get that right to start with. So the first account on your list should be the account that holds your savings. Should be the account that your income goes to, but not the account you spend money out of. You want to separate where your income goes to where your spending goes. So this one might be an offset account, it might be a high interest savings account. So if it's a high interest savings account, you'd put, CBA, high interest savings or something like that. Whatever it is for you. Then I'd suggest you have an account that's for your living. So this is an FPOS account. This is an account where you can get cash out of, you can pay for things, you can go out to dinner with, petrol, stuff like that. Then a bills account, and then accounts that we'll call a reg and goals. And that's going to have things that don't happen all the time, but that you need to allocate money towards. Car repairs, home repairs, medical costs, stuff that should be in your budget that you don't spend every week, but you're going to need to put money aside for. Okay, so once you've got your account list right, then you just need to go through this and select which account each of these expenses is going to come from. So the home mortgage might come from your cash savings, your high interest savings account, and any debt you've got. Normally the expenses, the debt expenses can come from the cash savings, the offset, or the high interest account. Life insurance might come from your bills account. And you go down the list and set each one for each account. So bills in fixed expenses will generally all come from the bills, apart from maybe car maintenance, which isn't something that you pay for every month. you might put that in the irregular expense account, something that's not going to commonly be paid for. Holidays might be irregular, so you'd put that in the irregular account, and that builds up for holidays, and childcare might be bills. Home repairs and maintenance tends to be irregular, so does appliances and furniture. Groceries is the first of the living. Clothing and shoes depends on how you do it. If you shop for clothes every month or so, you might put that in living. I tend to do a big shop every now and again, so I'll put that in a regular. Dining, alcohol, entertainment is living. Petrol is living. Medical is irregular. Gym sports membership for me is living, because every week I pay $13 to play basketball. It might be a bill for you if it's, say, a gym membership. Gifts is irregular. Pet care is an irregular expense. Hair and beauty, again, depends on how you do it. If it was just my haircuts, I'd just take it out of living. But we'll go out of irregular. That's where it normally comes out of. Newspaper and magazine subscriptions. Bills, cash is living. And other, which was dining out, is living as well. Accounting fees is bills. So basically you go through and set them all for yourself. And then it allocates them down here. So I want to take my regular drop down every week. Some people like to do it fortnightly, some people like to do it monthly. I find weekly just better, getting into a pattern. Then I don't have a really expensive week and find out that I don't have enough money for week number 2 of the cycle. So if you want fortnightly, you change this to F. If you want monthly, then M, obviously. I'd suggest weekly. So this tells us that for me to stick to my budget, if I put $398 a week into my living account, and that's all I spend, so I've got almost $400 a week for groceries, dining, alcohol, and entertainment, basketball, petrol. If I stick to that, I'm going to stick to my budget. And that's the biggest thing that can go wrong, is me going over that $400. So if $400 is all I've got, that's what I'll spend. So I then set up a regular transfer from my offset account to my living account of $400 a week. So obviously you might have to open accounts to get all this working. You might not have accounts that are suitable. So go in, have a chat to your bank, pick the right accounts that are going to work, get your pay going into the offset account or the high interest savings account, and then go onto internet banking and set up a transfer once a week, maybe on a Friday, $309 or whatever it is for you. For me, it'd be $398 into the living, $499 into the bills, and $435 into the irregular expenses. And then I've got a structure whereby all I have to do week to week to stick to my budget is not spend more than $400 a week on living, which is all I've got in my living account, not spend more than $499 a week on bills, but bills you don't tend to spend more than. They are what they are. They'll go up eventually and you'll need to adjust your budget. An advantage of having a set bills account is that you'll know when you'll need to readjust your budget, because all of a sudden you'll start to run out of money in that account. That means your bills have gone up. That means you've got to go back to your budget and increase your allocation towards certain bills. Irregular and goals accounts, that'll build up over time. It'll make allowances for appliances and home maintenance. You won't spend that every week, but that's a good thing just to have building up, so that when you go to Bunnings, when you go on a holiday, the money's there ready to go. So that's how you set a structure that actually enables savings. And I've seen this work well time and time again. If you have trouble with it or you didn't quite follow, feel free to reach out, give me a call, have a chat. Other than that, next week we're going through how to monitor what's going on. So how to set things up so that you know line item by line item how you're sitting, how you're traveling. To be honest, if you get this right, monitoring becomes a lot less important because you're not going to overspend. you're only going to spend what's in your account. So your monitoring is just confirming that you're within budget. But it's still worthwhile doing. So other than that, I will see you all next week.